Well, hey, we are in a series right now called Jesus Loves Me, This I Know, and we're talking about our identity, right? Like, I think we all at some point, especially middle school and high school, I think I can vouch for it. Like, you go through this kind of like, where do I fit? What am I good at? Who am I? How do I make sense in this world? Like, that's just a question. If you haven't asked it, you kind of need to, or you're going to. And that's a good thing. It's a natural thing to go through. And we want to help navigate you through that just by our life experience. So I have a couple of my friends up here. Say hi to Victor, Caleb, and Andy. And so these are my friends. And I wanted to just come up and talk life with them. And so for you guys, especially probably you juniors and seniors, you know the weight. I was talking about this with someone earlier. Like, you know the weight of becoming an adult. Like, it's right around the corner. And everything goes from like, I'm a kid to like, oh my goodness, this is life. And so we're going to talk about that today. And maybe you feel like that's really far away and you're in 6th grade and it's like whatever. I promise you it's not that far away. So would you pay attention? We all sat in a classroom in a seat in here in 6th grade. And I promise you it seems like it wasn't that long ago. So pay attention today. Hopefully you gather something from what is said. Is that cool? Cool? Okay. I got my first question for you guys. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you want to be when you grew up when you were a kid?
When growing up, I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to own a restaurant.
Do you cook now?
I do cook now.
Okay.
I do cook now.
Okay.
And then I want to be an architect. I want to help design buildings.
Did you build your house?
I did not build my own house.
Some dreams
and then
die.
I wanted to do like crime scene investigation stuff with science and all that stuff. So I had a lot of things on my wish list.
So you were like an architect / FBI agent /
chef and restaurateur owner.
Got it. That'd be cool. Okay. Elijah's excited about that.
I
Caleb, what did you want to be?
Why when you're a kid you have like 4 career paths you're going to chase at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, I had 2. I wanted to be, so my dad's a pastor and I love my dad, so I was like, I want to be a preacher when I grow up, but like that's not like that cool. So like to make it cooler,
True, it's not.
I'll also be an NFL football player. And there was this guy named Reggie White who played for the Packers, and he was a preacher and a defensive end, and he just like blew people up and sacked the quarterback all the time. And I was like, I'm gonna be him. And then I wanted to do commercial real estate so I could get really rich.
I remember. Listen, I remember this, Caleb. You were in high school. You were in Shepherd Youth.
I had plans. I had
He
some
did.
ideas.
He was like, you had like this whole thing. You were gonna be super rich. Like you would talk about it all the time. He used to read like finance books in high school.
I would not pay attention in class.
Yeah.
And I would cover the covers of my books so they didn't know. And like with the old paper bags, and I would read finance books at school. So that was me.
That's good. That's good.
That's fun. So the very first thing I remember is in kindergarten, we had like a project where you draw a picture of what you want to be and then you write like a little description. So the very first thing, I was 4 years old, I wanted to be a ballerina.
Yes.
Is that a career? I really don't think so.
I feel like I would like to see that happen, though.
Yeah,
We could take some ballet classes.
Yeah, I was really bad at it. I danced all throughout elementary school, and my family will straight up tell me now, like, yeah, you were really stiff and you didn't do very good. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Thanks.
So that's not a thing anymore, obviously. And then I wanted to be a vet because who doesn't love animals? And then throughout high school, actually, my dream job was Brianne's job because I grew up here at Shepherd Youth, and the girl who was Brianne before was my mentor, and I was like, I want to be you. But now Brianne can have it, and we're friends, and I'll encourage you.
Yeah, but if I go missing one day, we know who to look for.
Suddenly I'm on stage.
She's gunning for my job, guys.
Yeah, there are things in the works.
Yeah, right. Okay, so, growing up, it's really funny. I've always sang like my whole life since I was like 2. And so it was kind of the thing that everybody was like, oh, you want to be a singer when you grow up? And I'm not joking you. From like 2nd grade, I have this really vivid memory of being like, 1 in a million people get famous. That is not practical at all. I'm going to be a beautician because that's actually practical. Like, I'm not going to be a famous singer. That's ridiculous. And so it's really funny because it shows my personality. Even from a really young age, I was like, if you think you can be that, you're silly. Like, that's not practical. Is anyone like that in this room? You're like, I have to be practical about my career choice. Okay, thank you for being honest. Turn to your neighbor right now. Tell them what you wanted to be when you grew up when you were a little kid. Tell them. So much phlegm in my throat right now.
What was that, Brian?
It's real. Okay, so we talked about, I think it's really obvious when you're a kid, you have these big dreams, right? Like, you want to be like president or like an astronaut, and then you realize, like, wait, that might not be practical. I think that's a lot of people, even me being practical as a little kid, I still had those, like, okay, maybe somewhere in the back of my mind I was going to be these big things, but now I have to get practical about it. And I think it causes you to go through some confusion and some insecurity. Like, it's just natural. I think everybody goes through it. So here's what I want from you guys. Did you ever go through a phase, especially in middle school and high school, where you were just, you were confused about where you were going in life or insecure about the things that you were good at? Did you have one of those moments?
I had some insecurities about what I wanted to do because two of the things I wanted to do, maybe even three, being a chef and being a scientist and being an architect, require math. And I'm terrible at math. I'm really, really bad at math. I'm worried for my kids to when they look at me like, Dad, you're really bad at math. So that insecurity really stuck with me. And it really messed with me because I was stuck with, well, I can't do that. What else can I do? I was stuck in my own insecurities.
Yeah, so I have a couple thoughts. I didn't mention this earlier. I play guitar. So for a while, thank you. Thanks, Mom. What are you doing here? So for a while throughout high school, I really wanted to be a professional musician, which doesn't even make any sense now that I look back at it because I wasn't writing music or anything, so I don't know what my plan was. But throughout high school, I wanted to be a musician, and so I think I was 15 at a Shepherd Youth winter camp, and for some reason one night we were probably talking about like our futures or something, and I had this realization that I would never be a musician, probably because I was insecure and I didn't think I was very good, and also because I wanted a job that was like stable and I wanted to be able to support myself. So I had like this like emotional meltdown at camp at the realization that I couldn't be a musician. That was kind of traumatizing, but it's okay. I moved past it. And then the second time was, so I was a couple years into college, and I realized, oh my goodness, I'm graduating in 2 years. I was working in fast food at the time, and still kind of am. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life because I had a lot of interests and a lot of hobbies, and I was working in fast food, and I was like, what does this mean? I'm graduating college. I need to figure it out. And that was a hard time, too.
Yeah, for me, I had all those plans in high school, but I really didn't have a lot of confidence. I could fake the confidence, like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do, but really I didn't know if I would be.
Hello?
Hello? Oh, it's back.
There we
We're
go.
back.
We're good.
So I just didn't know if I'd actually be able to accomplish them. And even to this day, I would say, like, I still wonder, like, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I doing what I'm best at? So, like, I would say to this day, I wonder, like, I have some insecurity. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think it's like really, it's human nature. Like, and I remember looking at everybody else. The comparison game really doesn't work in any area of life, but it really doesn't work in this area when you're trying to figure out who you are and like what you want to do, because you look at everybody else and everyone but you seems to have their path like just perfectly laid out. Like they know what school they're going to go to, they know what degree they're going to get, they know what job they want to be in, and then you're over here like,
And social
I
media,
have no future.
social media makes it so much worse
Yeah.
because you see everybody's highlights of their life,
Yeah.
and they're like, I have it all figured out, and you're like, I'm a loser.
And you're like, I'm eating a bag of Cheetos for dinner. Like, what is my life? That's good. No, and I think, so I think for me, it's that realization of realizing that everybody goes through this stuff. Like, everybody goes through insecurity. Even, like, the best of the best go through moments of insecurity and doubt and fear and confusion about, like, I think that's the most common question I get, especially from young adults, is like, what is my calling and what am I supposed to do? And so, you know, not feeling alone in that is huge. Like, even if that's all you know is that you're not the only one that feels that way, it like does something to your soul, I think, to know. And so I think it's important to share with one another when you're insecure. You don't have to just have your whole life be a highlight reel like you talked about. Like, it's okay to be honest about things. Cool. So, okay, here's my next question for you guys. This question of, am I calling? What am I supposed to do with my life? All those kind of things. Do you guys feel like now you're in your calling or doing what you were made to do? Well, first share with us what you do, and then like, do you feel like you're in your calling?
So I work here at Shepherd. I work as one of the life group pastors here at the church, and one of my responsibilities, one of my jobs is to make sure people get into groups. So not only do people come and worship with us on the weekend, on Saturday and Sundays, but I help in getting our church members into a community group. So you guys have D groups on Wednesday nights. Our adults at the church, they have life groups, and we want them to connect with other people, grow to become more like Jesus, and like share the love of Jesus with the people in their neighborhoods. And I get to help with that. I get to laugh with people. I get to visit life groups and bring them cookies and pray with them, and they get to ask me all these random questions.
Do you make the cookies?
I don't make the cookies.
Because you wanted to be a chef.
I don't. I'm a terrible baker. I cannot bake. I will eat all the cookies, but I cannot make any of them. So I get to help and participate in other people becoming more like Jesus. That's part of what I get to do. And the second question was what again? The calling?
Do you feel like you're in your calling?
I think it goes back to like yes and no. I lean more towards the yes because I think God created me to be a person who hangs out with people, who spends time with people, who has conversation with people, who if someone has a tough question or is crying about something, I can be there to support them and help them out. So I think God has created me to spend time with people, to hang out. And I get to do that during the week. Like I'm not just here on Saturday and Sundays, I'm here during the week as well. So I get to do a lot of the conversations during the week, and I get to spend time with people. I think that's why it's like a yes and no. I get to, is there something out there that God also has for me? Absolutely, but right now I definitely feel like he has me in a place where I get to hang out with the people of our church and love on them and take care of them. So.
Yeah, so I'm a youth minister here, as most of you guys probably know. And thank you for the
One person clapped for you.
the smatter. Is that what the smatter of applause?
One
and,
clap.
Thank you again. But what I do is like I'll write sermons during the week. I'll hang out with people. I'll write like curriculum, that's pretty much it. But I read a lot. I study
He
a lot.
moves stuff if things are heavy. We make
I move
Caleb
stuff
move.
if things are heavy, because I'm stronger than Brianne.
Whoa!
And
You're just like larger than
yeah.
me.
But am I? So that's what I do. Am I in my calling? That's an interesting question. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but have you ever heard like people who go to Bible college or go into ministry be like, God called me to do this. Like I felt a calling into ministry. You guys, have you guys ever heard that? So I never had one of those experiences. For me, it was like, okay, I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus. I'm a child of God. So like my calling as a child of God, like everybody else's, is to love God and love people. That's my calling. It's the same as everybody else's. But then like, what do? I'm a preacher, but like I kind of came into that because I love God. I love reading the Bible, but I also I grew up in a family that was all in ministry. And my mentor, Dusty, was a pastor. My best friend's dad, Josh Kyle, was a pastor. So it almost made sense that okay, here's my calling to love God and love people. The best way for me to do that will probably be through ministry. So yes.
So you're kind of separating this idea of a calling, right, is something that isn't dependent on what you do.
It's not, because I really believe we all have the same calling.
Right.
But how the
that's
question
lived
is,
out
how
is
are you going to
different.
live out your calling? But
Right.
yes, I would say I'm living out my calling, and I'm happy with the way I am doing
Yeah,
that.
that's
if that
cool.
makes sense.
That's cool.
Okay, so my answer is a little different. I don't work in ministry like them, that's not my job. But there are a couple restaurants in Northridge, you may have heard of them. They're called Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A?
So, yeah, I know.
Listen, Kanye wrote a song about you. So,
Yeah.
you know you've arrived when
I'm not gonna sing it.
you my Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A is God's work, so you are
Right.
really-
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's kind of like ministry.
With a lemonade.
That's what it sounds like. It's not like an
Family,
official
family.
partnership or something, though. He just made that up. But anyway, so there are 2 Chick-fil-A's here in Northridge, and I work for those. My official title, I'm a nerd. It's Executive Business Director is my official title.
Okay,
so
boss lady.
I know. It's really cool. I smell like fries all day. So I am not one of the people on the floor who are the actual heroes of the restaurant who are taking orders and making the food and working in the drive-thru. I'm not one of those people. I run the business side of it. But yeah, we're a business. It's my job to make us money.
How did you describe it last night? It's like playing Monopoly, but with Chick-fil-A's money.
Yeah, It is.
That's
it's like
your
a
job.
game to me that I like to win. It's very fun. Yeah, so I do that, and am I in my calling? It's pretty much the same thing that Caleb said. Like, it wasn't a moment where God was like, "You're gonna work in fast food for your whole life," and I was like, "Yes, that sounds great, God." It wasn't that at all. I think, yeah, like Caleb said, it's this realization where you come to terms with, like, wherever you are is your ministry, and your calling is to love God and love people, exactly like Caleb said, and serve people. And so it was this moment where I realized that, like, I have the opportunity to interact with hundreds of people every day in the restaurant, and at the same time, I have 200 team members who it's my job to lead them and to make sure that this environment that they're in is, like, healthy and fun and inspiring, and that they can grow and feel uplifted as well. So do I believe I'm in my calling? The fact that it's Chick-fil-A doesn't make it my calling, but that I have this understanding that, like, God has presented me with opportunities to love on people and to serve people well in the restaurant that I work in. That is my calling. And so, yes, I do believe I'm in my calling.
That's cool. Yeah, I think you guys hit the nail on the head, honestly. Like, I feel like that all the time. I look at where I'm at, and I think there was a little part of me that always thought, I mean, I moved, if you guys don't know my story, I moved out here to LA, like, from Indiana. I don't know if you have any actor or, like, singer friends who moved out here from a different place, but that was me in high school. And I wasn't planning on that, but it was kind of a door that was open. And so I think somewhere in my head, I think there's this huge something with my life, and it looks a certain way. And the way it's played out has just been different. Like, I actually started interning at a different church, and then I started volunteering here, and then I became an intern here. And then just kind of over the years, I've been here for 8 years now, and I'm, like, the youth director now. And it's really, for me, it's not this big, huge, I got this word from the Lord that this is what I was going to do and I need to whatever. It was me taking the next good step. You know, like me saying, okay, I might not know overall this huge idea of what I'm called to, as in, like, my career, but I do know that I'm called to love people, and the easiest way for me to do that is to take this next step. I know I'm supposed to, you know, follow this door that got opened, or to talk to this one person, or to give sacrificially somewhere else. Like, when you just do the next good step, I think that's how you follow your calling. It's not like this big, like, here's the destination and I'm supposed to be this person and, like, I've got to jump into that. It's like, no, you just kind of follow where the light is that you can see, and you walk into that next good step. And so I think that's really powerful, because I think it's so much pressure to, like, find your calling, especially if you're a junior, senior in high school. You're like, okay, I guess I'll figure this out, and if I choose the wrong college and it's not my calling, then I'm going to mess up my whole life, you know, and it kind of takes the pressure off of that. Like, you just take the next good step, and I think that's how you live in your calling. So with that being said, that's kind of talking about this journey, right? Because, yeah, your calling isn't dependent on what you do, but also, like, there are certain things that we're better at than others, and there are certain things that, like, come easy to us and that bring us joy. Like, that's a real thing. You know, like, if you asked me to, I don't know, what's something I would hate doing, Andy? Yeah, like your job. Yeah. I would hate your job. Like, I'd be miserable all the time because I have to just deal with numbers, and it's like the same thing over and over again. Like, I need to be, like, creating and trying new things, and so I would be miserable. So there's that side to it too, right? Like, I can do that and still glorify God and be in my calling, but there's something on my side of it that I think I benefit from, like, being the kind of, you know, doing the kind of thing that I enjoy doing. So in that, I know you said that you've kind of found that and where you're at, and I think you guys as well. So what was that journey like for you? Were there any people involved in that? Was there a process to it? Like, if they're trying to figure out, okay, that's great, you found out where you're supposed to go, how did you get there? What would you tell them?
So I grew up here at the church. I grew up here at Shepherd Youth back when it was HSM. So any throwback to that, like, so I've been around here a long time. So just having people like Dusty, if you guys remember Pastor Garrison, he was one of them who helped. There we go. He was one of them who helped me. Who helped me get to Bible college, and then just having different adults in my life who I trusted, who I can be open and honest with, and just saying, hey, like, this is what I want to do. And a lot of them said, go and try it. So one year I ended up in Chicago for Bible college, so that's 2,000 miles away. And then in the same 5 months that I was gone in Bible college, I ended up getting a job at a summer camp in Texas, working in summer camp ministry. So when you guys go to summer camp, I was the behind the scenes guy at summer camp. So not what Brianne does, but helping Brianne out. So I got to experience all these type of different things in ministry. And then one day I got a call to come intern here at the church with what I do now as a life groups guy and helping people get into groups. So I had different people along the way saying, go try it. I don't know about that. Go try it. I don't know about that. But at the same time, God was opening and closing doors. So find people, find adults, find Brianne, find Kayla, find Andy, find me. I'd love to talk to you about it too. And find people who are just going to guide you in the way to take the next right step, as Brianne said.
Yeah, for me, definitely people. Like, I had a lot of people that I said surrounded me that pushed me in that direction. Amy Frizzell, when I was at camp, I walked in the wrong line at like the altar call thing, and she was like, I knew you'd be a preacher. I'm like, that's not what I came back here for.
Wait, this is for preaching? What?
Yeah, but just like her believing in me and saying that, that was helpful. I would say another thing that really helped me figure out and I'm still learning, like I'm 22, I don't know what I'm good at, but I'm learning. And one way that I do figure out is I just try stuff. And when I get dreams, when I got ideas, I just kind of go for it. And I told this story yesterday. I remember I was at Skate Lab one time when I was like 12 with my friend Josh Kyle, who's back there. Yeah, he took me to Skate Lab, and I skateboarded, and I was like pretty good, but I was like street skating. I never went on like the ramps and stuff. And there was this huge ramp with this giant drop in, and I had to wait in line, like a line of stairs to get to the top. And then when I got on the edge and set my board down, I looked down and I got scared, so I walked back down the stairs. And I remember everybody made fun of me, and it was like one of those pivotal moments in life. I felt horrible, and I was like, never again will I ever miss out on something because I didn't try. Like, I'd rather try and crash and look stupid than just walk down in shame. So like, don't ever miss out on a dream because you didn't try to do it. Like, if you're like, I don't know if I'd be good at it, just try it. Give yourself permission to fail and do bad, and that's a way that you can learn what you're good at.
Yeah, so for me, going back to that time I was talking about where I was a couple years away from graduating college, I said I had a lot of things that I was passionate about. I had a lot of hobbies, so I wanted to play music. I was volunteering here at Shepherd Youth. I have a D group, shout out to them. They're wonderful. And I loved doing that. There was a part of me that thought I could go into ministry if I wanted to try to do that and take Brianne's job. That would be kind of cool. But then I was working at Chick-fil-A, and at that point, I loved it. They're amazing. I get to eat free food. There's not much to complain about there. But yeah, I was falling in love with it, and I kind of saw a future in it, but I wasn't sure. But I loved working there. And so all of these things were kind of spinning around in my head, and as I was getting to the end of my college career, I was hanging out with Garrison, one of the pastors who used to work here, and we were sitting down, and out of nowhere, he was just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, I know. I started weeping. It was great. But I had no idea, and I think I was trying to answer that question, but he could tell that I wasn't very confident, and I was super conflicted in all the things that I was saying because I had all of these things, and I just didn't know how to make that into like a job or a plan, because I'm the kind of person where like I want one thing and I want to focus on it and put my all into it and make it my job, and everything will work out and it'll be great. That's not how it works. So he was like, Andy, it sounds like you have a lot of these things that you love, that you're passionate about doing, and they're fighting against each other, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, you can have all of these things in your life. Like, you can be creative and make music, and you can hang out with middle schoolers and high schoolers all the time if you want to, and you can have your job where you can make a lot of money if you want to do that, and like, it'll all work together and everything will fall into place as long as you're following the Lord. So it was that moment where Garrison helped me realize that like, oh, I can have all of these things. I was already doing it. I was already living out all of these things that I wanted. It's just turning the attention and the focus back onto what God has for me and following his lead in all of that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you stuck with Chick-fil-A so I can get free food too. It was really,
Yes.
Thank you.
That's why I'm there.
That's why you're there.
Yeah.
To eat
We have
free
a contract.
Chick-fil-A. Exactly. It's so good. That's so good, because I think it does it. It takes the pressure off yourself. Like, when you just realize like all that Jesus has asked you to do is to like center your life around his kingdom and find the people that encourage that in you. and just take the next good step. Like, he promises to take care of you, and he promises to make sense of the things that don't make sense in your life. Like, am I supposed to be a professional musician? Am I supposed to do this? Like, I think we've all had that, and it makes your head spin. It really does. Like, when you have all that pressure on yourself. And I think that is how you when you invite confusion and like pressure on yourself, you also you dismiss peace and you dismiss joy and all the things that are in God's kingdom. You like push those out because you're trying so hard to be in God's kingdom and in the center of his will. It's like it's this weird irony that the harder you try to do everything perfect and have the perfect whatever, you actually end up losing all the things that are integral to a life with God. And so it's like Jesus promised that you would be taken care of. He said, look at the fields of flowers. Like, they're dressed better than you'll ever be, and they don't worry about what they're going to wear. So stop worrying so much. Like, I will take care of you. And that doesn't mean you don't work. That doesn't mean you don't try. That doesn't mean you don't put effort forward and find people in your life. It means that you don't wear the weight of the ultimate responsibility of it, because, like, there's a bigger force than you that has more control and that knows better, and his name is Jesus. And so if you'll give it over to him, like, things tend to just fall into place. And sometimes even in the middle of them, they don't always like make sense, but then you look back and you go, oh, like, that's awesome. Like, that's why that happened. And I was able to do this and this and this. And so let's just all metaphorically, and maybe you need to literally just like take a deep breath sometimes. Like, it's okay. Like, life's gonna be okay. And your career is going to be okay, but the more you do this with it and you try to hold on to it so tightly and control it, the more you're going to work yourself into so much anxiety. I think that's our culture deals with so much anxiety, and I think a lot of it is because we're so self-reliant. We think that, like, if we don't do X, Y, and Z, then everything's going to fall apart and all these things, and it's like, no. If the X, Y, and Z that you need to do is love people and take care of people and like be real with yourself and be authentic and find peace and love. Like, those are the things that you need to cling to. And so I hope that you guys got something out of that. I hope that you have people in your lives. I know, like we just talked about, that's kind of a big part of keeping your brain on track with that stuff, because it's easy to say that, right? Like, oh, I'm not going to worry about these things and it'll work out. I'm just going to work hard. I'm going to do my best and that's all I can do. But then when push comes to shove, we tend to wear all that weight if we don't have people reminding us of truth and walking alongside us and talking through those things with us. So I hope you have people in your life. I hope you have some good friends, but I also hope that you have some good adults in your life too that have been through it and are on the other side. And so that's a little plug for D groups if you're not in D groups. Just saying, it's an easy way to get somebody in your life. But I'm gonna pray for you guys. And then I have a couple of announcements, and we'll get out of here. Jesus, I am so grateful, Lord, for where I'm at in life. I'm so grateful for the things that I have been through. I'm so grateful for the people that have been alongside me in this journey. And God, I pray that over these students as they tend to wear anxiety that is not theirs to wear, as they tend to put so much weight into what they do and how they're going to make money, like that's who they are. God, I pray against that they would realize that they are fully loved, they are fully accepted, and all that they need to worry about is participating in your kingdom, loving people. If they will just love people and find you, everything else will fall into place. And so would you show us what that looks like? Would you show us what the next good step is? So that, God, we can start living as who you want us to be now. Even though we're in school and we don't have a choice about where we go, God, our identity is not dependent on that. And so, God, I pray for opportunities this week to show your love, to participate in your love and your kingdom, whether that's talking to somebody that might be lonely or maybe meeting a practical need of someone that has lost something, maybe in a fire, or someone whose parents are going through a divorce, or a parent is sick. God, would we figure out our identity by fulfilling those needs and by loving on people? And so, God, I thank you so much for the way you've set up your kingdom. Would we be big brothers and sisters in faith to these students, and would they follow after what you have for them and chase after your love and your goodness? And so we give it all over to you, knowing that you're more than capable of taking care of it. It's in your name we pray. Amen.